Hello students. In this video today, we are going to study about diversity in our country, India. So as you can see in this image, India is a country of many diversities. We speak different languages, have different kinds of food, celebrate different kind of festivals, practice different kind of religions. But actually if you think about it, we may do many things that are similar, except that we do them in different ways. Which means that things which we do in different parts of India might look different, might appear to be different from each other, but they actually are the same. A very simple example of this can be the way in which festival like Diwali is celebrated. The way it is celebrated in North India differs from the way it is celebrated in West India or in the southern part of India. So the another question which arises is, how do we explain diversity? To understand diversity, let us look back at the history. A little more than 200 years ago, or long before the current or the modern mode of transports like train, aeroplane, bus, car, etc., became part of our lives, people came from one place to the another in ships, on horses, on camels, or very importantly, on foot by walking. Often they went in search of new lands or new places to settle in or for people to trade with. And because it took them so long to travel, once they got to a place suitable for them, they stayed there for a long time. Many others left their homes because there were famines and drought and they could not get enough to eat. Some went in search of work while others left because there was a war. These were some examples why people actually traveled in the earlier times or went from one place to the another. Sometimes, as people began to make their homes in new places, people began to change a little, and at other times, they managed to do things in the old ways. So, their languages, food, music, religions became a mix of old and new. And out of this intermixing of cultures came something new and different. Here we really need to understand how mixing of cultures makes up something new and different. For example, the Chinese food we eat in India is not exactly same as the food which is eaten in China, but it is the mixture of the food which is eaten in India and the mixture of the food or the recipes which belong from China. When these two are mixed together, they actually make Indian Chinese. The history of many places shows us that how different cultural influences have helped to shape life and culture in those places. Thus, regions became very diverse because of their unique histories. So, when we talk about diversity, we can also say that diversity is also there, or diversity also exists in the history of a place. Similarly, diversity also comes about when people adapt themselves to the geographical area in which they live. For example, living near the sea, for example, in Kerala, is quite different from living in a mountainous or dry region. Mountains, for example, Himalayas, places adjacent or places which are there in the hills or the mountains of Himalayas like Tibet, Leh, Ladakh, etc. So people not only have different clothing and eating habits, but even the kind of work they do are different. In cities, it's often easy to forget how closely people's lives are tied to their physical surroundings. Because in city, people seldom grow their own vegetables and grains. In short, we can say that in cities or big towns, things are available or ready at hand for the people. Let us now try to understand what we mean when we say that historical and geographical factors influence the diversity of a region. We can do this by reading about the life in two different parts of the country, Kerala and Ladakh. While Kerala and Ladakh are quite different in terms of their geographical features, as we can see in these two pictures. This is the picture of Ladakh. We can see here it is not very green, it is dry or arid region. And this picture of Kerala, we can see it is so green and is filled with water. Both regions were influenced by Chinese and Arab traders. It was the geography of the Kerala which allowed for the cultivation of the spices, and the special geographical location of Ladakh, its wool, that drew traders to these regions. Thus, history and geography are often tied or interconnected in the cultural life of a region. So, the influence of diverse cultures is not merely a thing of past. Our present lives are also about moving from place to place for work, and with each move, our cultural traditions and way of life slowly become part of the new place we are in. For example, many of you many of you would have parents who are in certain kind of occupation which includes or requires a lot of transfer. For example, people who work in army move from place to place, and as they move from place to place and settle in a particular area for certain amount of time, they adapt to the conditions which are present in that region. Similarly, in our own neighborhoods, we live close to people from several communities. Our daily lives are about the ways in which we do things together and hear stories about each other's lives, customs, and traditions. For example, in a family, when different members of a family sit together, they talk about the stories of the past, etc. etc. Unity in diversity. India's diversity has always been recognized as the source of its strength. When the British ruled India, women and men from different cultural, religious, and regional backgrounds came together to oppose them. India's freedom movement had thousands of people of different backgrounds in it. They worked together to decide joint actions. They went to jail together, and they found different ways to oppose the British. Interestingly, the British thought that they could divide Indians because they were so different and then continue to rule them. But the people showed how they could be different and yet united in their battle against the British. So it was basically the unity of the people of the India, means when the people of the India came together and fought together against the British, we were able to drive the Britishers away from our country. This song was sung after the Jallianwala Bagh massacre in Amritsar, in which a British general opened fire on a large group of unarmed, peaceful people, killing many and wounding even more. Men and women, Hindus, Sikhs, and Muslims, rich and poor, had gathered to protest against the British. The song was composed and sung to honor the memory of those brave people. The songs and the symbols that emerged during the freedom struggle of India serve as the constant reminder of our country's rich tradition of the respect for diversity. In his book, The Discovery of India, Jawaharlal Nehru says that Indian unity is not something imposed or forced from the outside, but rather it was something deeper and within its fold. The widest tolerance of belief and custom was practiced, and every variety acknowledged and even encouraged. It was Nehru who coined the phrase unity in diversity to describe the country. So, very important to remember that it was Jawaharlal Nehru who coined the phrase unity in diversity when he described our country India in his book, The Discovery of India. India's national anthem, composed by Rabindranath Tagore, is another expression of the unity of the India. And there are many ways in which the nation describes this unity in form of mentioning different rivers, different regions, religions, etc.